Commissioner Cole, I'll let you do it.
Okay.
Call this meeting, the Ocean Highway and Port Authority for October 12th at 6 p.m. We'll have the invocation, Commissioner Cole, and then the pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this great country that we live in. We pray now that you would be with all of our leaders, that you give them wisdom, discernment. We pray that you would be with us tonight as we make decisions for the county and for the Oka Board, that everything would be pleasing to you. We ask that you be with our first responders and servicemen and women and all those who serve and protect us. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Hannah.
Here.
Commissioner Franklin.
Here.
Vice Chairman Cole.
Here.
Chairman Fulwood.
Present.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience?
None.
None. Approval of the minutes for September 14th, 2022. Everybody had a chance to look over those? Any questions, concerns?
I make the motion.
Motion been made to approve the minutes. We'll hear a second.
I have a question.
Yeah, we'll hear a second.
I'll second.
Second, motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any corrections?
Yes, on about the shade meeting, case number 21CA16, supposed to be 164.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything
I'll make that.
else? If I hear no other corrections, all in favor of the minutes as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Very good. Port Attorney report.
Thank you, Chairman. The reports in your packet. We submitted our evidence to the property appraiser's office yesterday for the 22-23 tax attempt denial. The hearing is set for later this month, so we're preparing for that. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I do have a correction on the update in the Ross case. It was my mistake that the transcript was provided. We have received the transcript, but per the terms of the settlement agreement, the transcripts of the shade meetings that were conducted in this case will be provided within 7 days after the petitioner files dismissal, which has not occurred yet. So that note is inaccurate. We do have the transcripts, but we have not provided them, and we will do so pursuant to the settlement agreement. Everything else is there in front of you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are you going to cover the draft amendment to the operating agreement?
I can, or
David, were you?
Under new business.
yeah, the
Okay,
chair.
all right. All right. Any questions for Patrick? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Pierre, you're up.
So in your package is the treasurer's report. Obviously, this is the last report for the fiscal year end, so September 30th. 2022 is fiscal year end, so obviously we're busy getting the items ready for the auditor. We'll be here in early November to start their work on the audit. So we're busy kind of finishing up the financials. We'll bring you a draft of the financial report next month for the full year. Nothing unusual in the report this month. So, obviously, big changes for the budget originally approved, the ARPA and the master plan. So, next page is the custom talent report, and then balance, bank balance.
Any questions about the budget report?
So next on the agenda is, so we talked about this 2 months ago, a month ago, about approving so that we're all on the same page, and obviously the port operating agreement includes several items that are adjusted for inflation annually, several fees. As of right now, only the annual fee is adjusted for inflation. As I said, in future years, other items start to be adjusted for inflation and start to add to the operating agreement. So this is, I think I showed you this last month, showing that obviously for 2022, the CPI for August, and I provided you guys with the July CPI. But we've taken this August is the most recent time period available right now. And so the August, and so that's what we're using for each year. So the contract started in 2018. So 19, 20, 21, obviously we're here to approve the 2022 change. So the change from year to year for August 2021 to 2022 is 8.2627%. So that changes the annual fee to $295,617.76. And that will go into effect as of November 1st, which is when the contract, the port operating agreement that became effective. So if you flip to the next page, is the actual resolution that we need you to adopt that essentially enshrines this as the increase, the CPI increase for this year. And we plan on doing this every year to document, as I said, per the agreement, the CPI changes, so that we can communicate those to the port operator and all be on the same page.
Rosanna, go back to the previous page, please. All right, the 33,542 is the total for the years from 18 to 22 that we did not receive.
So separate. So we've invoiced the operator for that. And if you look back at obviously the treasurer's report, you'll see that there's an underpayment on the port operating agreement, right? So we've invoiced them for that. They've agreed to make up that amount. So we've sent in the invoice, and we're expecting that 33,000.
Very good.
So that will catch us up on the adjustments. And now again, right now it's about going forward, right? And each year we want to make sure we're all on the same page. We approve the CPI adjustment that we all agreed that that's the CPI we're using. That's what we're making the adjustment. So yes, that we agreed with the operator, and the underpay amount that you see there, that 33,000, yes, will be paid in the next 45 days.
Right, okay. All right, next page, resolution. All right, has everybody read the resolution? Anybody got a problem with it? All right, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the resolution as stated.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt resolution number 2022 R04. Any discussion?
I just had a question. So we're looking retroactive for the CPI adjustment to true that up, but is this part of like a collective effort to provide like one number to the operator? Because I just respecting the fact that they're trying to plan, financially, like what other things might have slipped. Are we putting together like a collective list, like a master list of those types of issues, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Because so Patrick and I, or sorry, David and I, scheduled these here pretty soon, because obviously we need to decide what we're going to put into our financial statements, of what's due, what's not. And obviously those two have to be made of what the operator was us, we the operator come to some conclusion on that. So
I don't think that has any bearing on whether we should vote yes for this. I think
Yeah,
we should
yeah.
vote yes for this.
well, and so this
But
is.
it's just because it seems, I don't want it to be like piecemeal, like a surprise.
Well, and so obviously the 33,000 is that. This is just going forward. This is per the operating agreement. Each year, we're supposed to do a CPI on the contract date that new rate becomes effective. And so the resolution here is for November 22 going forward. And obviously the next one, so we'll do the same thing next year. And some of the, like I said, besides in the future years, the per ton rate changes for the CPI, but those don't come into place until the 6th or 7th year of the contract. So those will be added to this resolution at that time, again, just to confirm to everyone these are the rates. So
So it's not discretionary, like it's published. It's objective, it's an objective. Okay.
well, yeah, I mean, obviously the CPI is the government published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Obviously available to everybody. That's what we're using. We're using the all consumer, all, the broadest index. So.
That's what they gonna give us Social Security recipients.
Yeah, we're doing this because we don't wanna hit Butch with a big total right now, so we're piecemealing it, as you can say, do a little bit at a time, so you won't people so panic. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
So the next item is quarterly staff engagement letter. So we have an annual engagement with the Port Authority. So each year we bring this forward. And the only thing I've added this year is you go to page 2 or something. At the bottom, I did add the grant fund administration for the ARPA and the assistance that we've been providing, and that essentially will continue to provide going forward. So I did include that, so this is an annual, as I said, each year. This is for a 1-year engagement, supporting the stand to be the port accountant. And the fee is, as we discussed, is the budget meeting, which is $1,900.
All right,
I'll make a motion to approve it so we can discuss it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the engagement letter. Any discussion?
Are there any other changes to the agreement? I'm sorry that I didn't compare it to last year.
No, this is exactly the same. Everything else, other than the paragraph that I pointed out, which is the grant administration, grant fund administration. Everything else is exactly the same. And has been the same for at least 5, 6. I think the last change was the addendum to the contract, which is this public records compliance. And that was probably 5, 6 years ago that we added that to all.
Did this include the increase we talked about?
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried.
So one last item, and that's, so we just need, so I don't have a speaker for you, but we do need to formalize. Saying we had a discussion about increasing the office administrators. Hourly rate from $22.75 to $24.55 an hour. So we need a formal, once we have a board vote to make that change, Patrick will prepare an addendum to, she has an employment agreement with the Port Authority. So we'll have a formal contract addendum to formalize that. So, and that's also as of October 1st. So,
So we need to go ahead and approve that change,
correct.
and then we'll have.
So we're changing, so in the budget, we had the discussion to change the hourly from 22, or let's say we budgeted to change the hourly rate from 42 to 22, but that's the budget. We now need a formal approval to make that change to her hourly rate from $22.75 to $24.59.
So if the motion can include giving the chairman of the authority to sign that addendum, we don't have to bring it back to the next meeting. I can just prepare it based on this discussion and your instructions, and then the chairman can sign it with an early effective October 1st.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the agreed upon $24.55 hourly. And once the paperwork is put together by Patrick, Danny can sign and get it sealed and delivered.
I'll second.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Gotta wait on that second now. Let's go. Motion been made and seconded to approve the office administrators new salary.
Now. Is she gonna be an employee or is she a contract?
She's a 1099, right? No, she's an employee because we take taxes out. Yeah,
We all think it's actually that, so
Yeah.
she is an employee.
yes,
All right, we pay unemployment and all that stuff on. But,
Yes.
yeah.
cause before there was 1099, the contract.
Yeah.
When did it change?
Well, we were 1099 at one time. We, Pierre came in and changed it all.
Yeah.
So I don't know when that changed actually. Do you remember?
Do we get a W-2 or 1099?
Yeah.
Your employees as per Florida law.
Yep.
That was.
So we were breaking the law? No, we weren't.
When did we change the way? Was it when you came in or was it?
Barb was W2.
Was that you
Mhm.
also- yeah, it was then
Before that,
before-
where Joanna was.
Was 1099.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
That's all you got? Executive Director report. It won't.
You have my written report. I'll just summarize some of the things that have been going on the last few weeks. That are reported to you previously, and you've heard from the operator as well as the pilots, the berth continues to soak in. And share with you all the soundings that we recently received that show significant siltation in the south end of the terminal. So we're preparing to go out with a request for bids to do maintenance pressure. We have an existing permit to do that expires at the end of March of 2023. So we want to get it done fairly before that permit expires and begin the work to extend that permit. Anyway, but this is something that needs to take place pretty quickly. So I've shared with Patrick and Rosanna the meat of the RFP, which would be the sounding, the scope of the work, and the permit. This project is also being funded 75-25 with the state of Florida. So we have to comply with the advertising permit process for the state of Florida. And we'll attach the state grant agreement to that RFP as well, so that the citizens will know what they have to comply with, and then the operator will make a 25% match. There was conversation at the last commission meeting about the CSX right away, the $750 that we have in our budgets. That's what that was for. I reached out to CSX. We essentially have 3 easements on the terminal that cross the railroad. One is for electric lines, one is for water, and the other is for sewer. So those are 3 utility easements that obviously we need to keep in place. And so we pay $250 per easement to CSX for that. There was also a question about the insurance premium that we were billed, and Patrick raised some questions on their call. So I reached out to FIMT, had a conversation with them. There are a few areas where there could be some potential savings. But because we did not have that last meeting in September because of the storm, we went ahead and executed the agreement with FIMT.
FMIT.
Definitely, yeah, that too. So that we wouldn't lose our coverage. We understand, we can go back to them if we so choose to amend that contract. We don't have to wait a year necessarily to do that. The 3 areas we can modify if you so choose would be the auto coverage, which I think is one that Patrick had raised as a possibility. That would be about a $250 savings. Essentially, that policy covers liability that the authority might have, but then you would get into a car accident and we exhaust all of our private liability insurance. It kind of sits on top of that, so, that's what that does. The other area is for cybersecurity. There's a fact that used to be included in the overall premium, and they now break it out for the first time. And it's $1,000 premium for cybersecurity. Again, it's a question of whether or not we feel like we have some exposure there. Roseanne has begun having some conversations with some of our IT consultants that we use to get their opinion on it. You know, I'm not an IT guy, but I think, you know, the systems that we have in place, you know, I'm sure we have terribly high risk for it. That could be a potential savings. The other is about a $500 savings if we choose on the property liability. That coverage, in addition to providing for employee crime and theft and that type of thing, also insures our lease space at License Road. And again, we have very little assets there in that building to worry about, and it's not our building. So if the option is rather than having that coverage, that you would issue some type of bond. I'm not an insurance person or an attorney, but there's some type of bond that we would basically provide the same coverage on both for the crime, theft, and embezzlement issues. And that would be about $500 less than what we're paying for the liability insurance. So in total, it's about 1,800 potential savings. So we just need some direction as to whether we need more research or whether we want to make those changes or just keep the policy in place later.
Patrick, I'd like your opinion on this.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, I'm not an insurance expert either. I just know when we've been looking at the policy related to some of the coverage specific to litigation, it does seem like there, again, I stated this the last time, that there's a lot of coverage that's inapplicable to an agency like this just because of how it's set up and operated. But if the total savings is, you know, is what David's describing, I think it would probably take just as much cost and effort to confirm that you're not losing something by eliminating those coverages. You know, I don't know whether the $500 or was it 500 for the auto policies? I don't know whether that's worth it. So it's not even 500. You know, it seems pretty small to me. I'm also a little jaded because I'm going round and round with FMIT right now. So yeah, I'm not real happy with them, but I just wanted to make sure you all took a look. We can have, you know, somebody with a little more experience look at it if you want, or it's been renewed, so you can, you know, just kind of see how things go, see how you grow, and just, you know, leave it for another day. It doesn't seem like it's a significant amount, but that's just my opinion.
Commissioners, what's your opinion?
It's already been renewed for a year. A year.
But you can go back in the middle of it.
Yeah, you can always revise.
But it has been renewed.
You know, it's no use insuring something that you don't have. And we don't have it in all of them. And that liability and the stuff that you're talking about on the other.
We're not necessarily insuring the line, you're insuring the auto, not insuring the vehicle, you're covering the liability that we might have. If Roseanne or I or one of y'all were in an accident, you had some liability because of the accident, and your personal insurance ran out. This would then stack on top of that.
If you're on port business.
Correct.
If you're on board, yeah.
Now, if you drove your car to Tallahassee and had an accident, that's where
It would go against my personal liability insurance, and then if the claim was more than what I cover on my own personal, then it's definitely covered.
But what about the cybersecurity? I don't know if we've got, how much was the cybersecurity? $1,000.
And that's what it costs. $1,000 for cybersecurity.
I don't know
What we
we've got.
put on, what we put out, that would be,
You have to watch out for it.
I don't see anything that we have that I know of that would
Public representative.
anybody would want.
well,
Pierre, can you think of anything financially?
We move a lot of money via email,
Yeah,
so obviously we can give it advantage. you know, those kind of, that's cyber also, as far as I'm concerned, right? So, you know, people spoofing their email, whatever, I mean, you know, so there's a lot of issues, again, that, you know, as a government agency, your official port email accounts and things like that, and just using those accounts to do whatever, so, but I'm also an insurance guy.
I don't know that I don't know that I would eliminate that.
Okay,
You just don't know what they
I
get
just
into.
want everybody's opinion.
So I think, yeah,
You just don't know what the
and the
motivation
same
is, right?
with the auto, I think the auto, again, because we don't require you to have a minimum coverage. So someone could have a very small amount of coverage on the car, have, again, have enough while working for, while doing work for a time or traveling on a trip. This would step in and cover for, you know, yeah.
And what was it again?
$250.
But we've eliminated certain things and it's saving us how much for this year?
We didn't eliminate anything yet.
Eliminate anything?
I think.
No.
If you eliminate the auto, you take $250 off.
Right, and the $1,000 out of that.
So on the cyber liability side, I agree that I would not reduce that coverage. What is the coverage amount?
That's not, well, it's,
Premium stuff. That would be $1 million.
yeah, yeah.
I actually think that's low. But what I would like to happen is for there to be a review of our process from a like practical perspective as to like, when you say money movement, you know, via electronic means, because a lot of times your insurance companies offer like continuing education type courses and classes on what they're seeing. And I hear like through continuing legal education about municipalities being held, their websites being held hostage, or you get an email that's a phishing email and you click the link and then they have a backdoor into your email account and they pretend to be writing an email saying wire the money here. But
And just so.
Yeah.
We don't issue instructions via email,
right,
but we do communicate with the bank to set up those instructions,
Right.
send emails. things like that. So
DocuSigns.
so, yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's
everything,
considered like one of the greatest risks for like. money
Absolutely.
movement.
yeah. And obviously, yeah, again, I have a long relationship with the bank, so, you know, I speak a certain way, so they, the person I contact is always the same person, so.
So what I'm
But
hearing,
certainly,
what I'm hearing, just leave it like it is. Not make any changes. The people you're gonna talk to, let them look at it and see if they
Right.
need to make any changes,
I'm still
especially
waiting.
with cybersecurity.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a
Okay.
reply from one of them.
All right, and then we'll move on from there, so. All right, what's up next?
Had a nice visit last week from the new regional director for NARA. This is Brendan Villalona. She recently moved here from St. Louis with her family, and lives in Jacksonville. Gave her a report tour, had a nice visit. And she has offered at some future date, if we choose for her to come and brief the commission on what NARA does and how they can help to us and so forth. Very good visit. Also had a very good meeting with FDOT and the Port of Pensacola that was set up by FDOT as a result of a question I had regarding FEMA reimbursements during these types of hurricane events that we had. Fortunately, we did not have any significant damage this time. I asked Rich to give us an update during the report, but just wanted to make sure that we're prepared the next time if it does it, that we're not trying to scrambling around in the aftermath, trying to figure out how to document the damage in a way that ensures that we get reimbursed for any eligible costs. And so, DOT put together this conference call with the folks at Port of Pensacola, who apparently are continuing to work through that process as a result of the last hurricane they had in the Panhandle. And they're now looking at doing some type of resiliency strategic plan for the Port of Pensacola, which I'll learn more about tomorrow. We're going to call tomorrow. I'm not sure if doesn't mind there, but what we're really looking for is an off-the-shelf kind of procedure manual with the forms that people require to make sure that in the aftermath, we're documenting everything. Also had a good meeting with the executive director at the chamber as well as the CBD. To talk about the small cruise ship market and ways that when we have those vessels call for Anita, that we can spread that economic benefit around the county a little bit more than has happened in the past, and also ways that we might more aggressively market to those lines. So that was a very good meeting. Spoke with the county manager's office, there was a little bit of dialogue, I think this being started about the use of their continued use of their space for our meetings. Does not look like it's something that they really want us to do. So as the chairman of the table looks for some other options and bring that back. The last item I had was something that really got engaged with today. The National Marine Fisheries Service is promoting some changes to the right whale protection measures. As you guys probably are aware, during the season, calving season, there are certain speed restrictions that go into effect off the coast that really restrict movement of ships up and down the Atlantic coast as those whales move back and forth. The restrictions currently apply to vessels over 65 feet in length. And it requires them to go through this zone, which goes 20 miles offshore, to go at no more than 10 knots, unless there is justification for doing so for safe passage, because you obviously want to keep the vessel safe. That's been in place for a number of years. Apparently, there was recently a boat strike on the right whale cap and mother down in St. Augustine. And as a result of that, and I guess some other work that National Marine Fisheries is doing, they're now recommending that those speed restrictions, including vessels 35 feet. And so it now catches a lot of the smaller fishing boats and pleasure craft, and a potential concern to OPA would be the potential impact to the pilots. If they have to maintain safe speed with those vessels. And part of the rule change is if you're going to go faster, you have to report it extemporaneously. That decision, and that's probably the worst time for the pilots to worry about communicating with somebody about making those changes. So the pilots are not on record for public comment. City of Jacksonville has passed a resolution asking for more time for public comment. I reached out to my counterparts at Jacksport and Port Canaveral. Both of them are considering their commission's taking some public action to their concern. So I bring that to you tonight, just that, again, as basic information and direction either tonight or a future meeting if you want to issue a letter or not. I spoke with the pilots today about it. So it would be nice if we issued a letter, but it was not a $5 it. So again, it's a public policy decision for the commission.
Have you heard anything about what other ports up and down the coast are doing? Because I know this goes all the way from
Well, I understand that.
their winter grounds to.
I understand that Savannah is pretty, and Charleston, I think, are pretty engaged in it right now. And as I said, Jacksonville, Jacksport, and Canaveral both intend to write letters.
So is the exception for like in operations speed adjustments, or is it just general objection?
It's a general, well, the requirement is a general blanket requirement that you can't go over 10 knots. But there's an exemption piece of that allows you to go faster if you need to maintain safe steerage of the vessel, which apparently the pilots make regular use of under the current rule. The new rule makes it more difficult for them to do that. It requires them to do it at the time they make that decision. They can't go under the current weapon to have 48 or 72 hours to report that after the event. The pilots have, their recommendation is to not necessarily do away with restriction or the regulation. But what they're asking for is an exemption for the federally dredged channels that go out to where they're catching the vessels. So that they can operate within their area at whatever speed they need to safely maneuver. With the added caveat that if there is a whale spotted in that area, that they would institute what they call a dynamic management area, which allows them for that incident to slow the speed down and require that. But as long as there's nothing spotted, then they're able to.
So is the restriction like applicable just to the pilots, or is it just?
Any vessel.
Any vessel.
There's no carve out for
No.
pilots?
No.
Personally,
Carve out for fishing boats, no carve out.
personally, I don't think we need to write a letter. I think that's probably gonna be covered with so many other ports that they won't even look at our little ports. And whatever they do, they're gonna do. You know, that's the government. So I would just say, leave it alone, and what happens, happens. No, we'll just have to live with it. In other words, our letter would not tip the balance. I don't think, that's my personal opinion. But whatever y'all,
You see that it would be advantageous for us to do it.
I don't think it would. I don't know how it would. And you know, we have a large right well contingent in Bernardino and Nassau County, and I wouldn't want to do anything that upsets that group.
Well, I would support an exception that was narrow for the safe operation of the pilot vessels.
Well, that's what they're asking for already.
But as long as it was a narrow exception, I would support that. But what my concern and my hesitancy is that we've been asked to write letters of support before and provide authorization of letters, and
Yeah.
what's in the letter is a little different than what we voted on. So my support would be pretty narrow.
Well, I would also mention that, this was brought to my attention largely morning. County manager. Reached out not only myself, but the city manager and the marina manager, so anybody in that one taking on the position on it. And I'll raise it this evening, and so we don't want to.
What was his opinion?
He did not have one. They were going to take it to the county commission, and city manager can get it, he would bring it to the city commission as well. And he would recommend one of them.
I think we'll already just wait and see what happens with that group. And then we'll move from there.
I put a lot more confidence in our harbor pilots to avoid
Yeah.
something the wheel path than I do a commercial fishing vessel
Yeah,
or a
that's-
recreational leisure fishing vessel.
that's mainly where the problem is, the smaller vessels,
Mhm.
shrimpers.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's all.
That's all you got? Really?
Right. I miss him.
You, what about Customs House? Do you have anything?
Well, we have that as new business.
Oh, it's new business, that's right. All right, unfinished. No, let me see. No,
No, our intent, Mr. Chairman, on the dredging, our intent, unless you all have a concern about our intent is to have Patrick and I and Rosanna complete the request for bids. Go ahead and advertise that, and then when they come back, when the responses come back in, we rank the responses, then we come back to this commission. For approval.
yes, we need to get that done. Yes,
Does that follow the procurement process?
Yeah.
It's prescribed as statute.
I'll have to look at the details. I mean, the question it really is whether you want to see the RFP before it goes out, or whether you want us to go ahead and complete it and publish it and advertise.
I personally trust we all do the right thing. We don't need to look at it. We don't need to waste any more time. We need to get that dredged. Because it is a hazard, or getting to be a hazard.
I'll look to make sure that we can issue. Or we can advertise, publish an RFP without the board voting on the actual RFP document. I don't think that's required, but I'll confirm, but. Take direction.
If it is, we'll bring it back next meeting.
Yeah, as long as it allows us to not award if we, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
It won't be
To
any different
reject,
than,
Right.
Right. Yeah.
it won't be any different than
Yeah.
any of the other RFPs you've seen, other than the scope of work and maybe the time to respond based on when it all needs to be done. I'm concerned that the permit expires in March,
Mhm.
so just want to make sure we have time to actually complete it.
It's probably in maybe 2 to 3 days before they register,
We're
depending on when they got birth.
it'll be about a week, it'll be hauled off to, yes.
Yeah, I'm also more sensitive to the, sorry, I'm not on this conversation.
Go ahead.
I'm more sensitive to the time that it's of it, like on the market, so I think that's the competitive piece than I am. I mean, and we want to comply with the procurement.
All right. Next up, Butch, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
September was down a little bit. Containers showed a downfall. It's mainly because of summer dial, of course, and then being dry docked and get back on their schedule. They're going to a 2-week, every other week instead of a 2.5 per month. We just loaded them out here a week or so ago, and they went out heavier than they've ever had in the past. So I was looking for October to pick back up on the container.
Hurricane hurts a little bit.
Hurricane first a little bit too. I got that in my note. That's what was coming out. That was a little opportunistic that we received that hurricane.
Yeah.
Our general bulk cargo tons were just off a little bit from the previous month, but for the year, we're about a little over 32,000 tons ahead of where we were this time last year. We've got a pretty good line of ships coming in this month. So I feel like October will be very nice. We had 6 more dockage days in September than we did in August. And rail cars went up 31 from September to August. So overall, we've done 119 more rail cars in 22 than we had this time last year. As far as the hurricane itself, the biggest thing that we seen was surged water. I was going out there about every 6 hours of tide change, and I'd go up behind the wheelhouse and look at that's vantage point. At the worst.
Yeah,
yes,
we're almost
that's what
at
I-
floating cranes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty impressive and concerning all at the same time to see that. But the thing that was just amazing was how well the team had prepared for this. Those containers, they knew where the high ground was, where they needed to go in anticipation of the storm, and that's where they put it. And so there was no damage whatsoever to any of that product. The one thing that was very concerning, that we have electrical vaults at the terminal. And they did fill, and they typically do fill even at high tides. But the team's gotten very good to allowing that to dry out before they throw the power. We had no technical issues. You did see a picture there. We had a northwest corner of warehouse 1 that sustained some damage. When I got out there that morning, the 20-foot piece was laying down in the railroad tracks, and some of the smaller stuff wasn't even there anymore. I don't even know where that went. So we had that, and then a little bit of a roof, corner of a roof on warehouse 3. And we did not recognize we had any product damage whatsoever until the day before yesterday. And a couple of the team members was pulling rolls, or I'm sorry, paper down, bundles of paper down. And the top of 4 bundles had got some water on them from a roof where it leaked there. And those got enough water where they exploded, so that we'll do a product claim for that for the customer, take care of that. We moved everything else out of the way in anticipation of the rainstorm that's coming in tonight. And we'll get that roof patched up, dry and fixed, so.
Is this the same area that was damaged previously and they repaired it?
that is not a very appealing side of the wall to look at.
Yeah.
Before, and it really doesn't look appealing right now. But we'll get some new tan and get that up. It's patched and dried in, for the most part. But we'll get her cleaned up here and make it look much better than it does now.
Go back one. This paper here, was that off the ship that,
That's lumber.
I mean lumber, that was off the ship that burned?
No, sir.
Oh, so that's,
New lumber.
was that
Yeah, so
okay? Is
the
that
stuff
okay?
It's all the way around this corner and it remained dry. And the thing that the team done too, knowing that if the water happened to get up there, that could create a challenge. They put containers around that product to keep that block not only from surge water, but also from the wind.
So this didn't get wet?
That stuff did not get wet.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, they done
That's
an
amazing.
extremely good job.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Right.
Any questions?
Well done.
That was painless. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
You took them containers and locked it where the water and the wind wouldn't get there.
Yep.
I did that one time. When a hurricane was coming, I took trucks and trailers and started on them. You put them right up next to it.
Yeah.
Well, the wind blowed it, have about a foot to go.
There was something on the agenda about an update on public feedback from our community. Did you get any feedback?
I have not got.
I don't think you're going to. All right, let's go to unfinished business. FMIT policy,
So that was.
already taken care of. New business, Customs and Border Protection. I'll let the executive director pick that up.
Well, this has been briefed to you all before. This is related to the IT infrastructure upgrades and continuance, recurring costs associated with that. There are two action items tonight. The first would be to approve the cost sharing agreement with Savage, where they will provide the match for the state grant to pay for the installation of that. And then they've also agreed to pay the annual recurring cost after that. So that's the first time to approve that. Agreement with Savage to do that cost.
Go to the next page.
This it's a different agreement. What you have on the screen is the next item, which would be the agreement between OPA and CBP to do the project, right? So the agreement to install the equipment and to maintain it is between OPA and CBP. We don't want to execute that until we know that we've got the operator agreeing to pay for it. And so the first one is to get the agreement approved with the operator that they're going to pay for it. And then the second would be to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement with CBP to move forward with the project.
Go down to where it says authorization signatures. I got something different on mine.
You're looking at the second agreement.
Keep going. Oh, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's it.
So we
Probably a separate attachment.
we worked with Savage's in-house counsel on this letter agreement back and forth, making sure the numbers were right, the language was right. So it's been reviewed by me, and then their in-house counsel, their vice president has signed it.
So everybody's in agreement.
All right, so you need to vote to approve this agreement, give the chairman the authority to execute it on behalf of OPA.
And that would be the cost sharing agreement. It's cost. Need a motion to approve the cost sharing agreement with OPA and Nassau Terminals.
I'll make the motion with approval.
Motion been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the cost sharing agreement. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried.
So now the second agreement is the agreement between OPA and Customs and Border Protection to move forward with that project.
So this is gonna have to be amended to reflect
Yes, right.
Chairman Forward.
Yes, got Carol Franklin on there. Okay,
Are we in the discussion phase?
not yet. Not yet. This is the,
That's the itemization of the cost.
okay,
The way this project works is once we approve it, Customs will go out and they will procure all of that equipment on their own. The $56,000 that's estimated to not to exceed amount. They will procure all the equipment, they will install the equipment. And then they will invoice us as they do that. And then we will invoice the operator and then get reimbursed out of the grant for the state share of that.
So does this one have the Charlotte C cap too,
56,000,
the 15,000?
the 56,000 is capped as not to exceed. The recurring cost is not capped, but that's their estimated cost.
So
And there's a 15%.
why didn't we cap both of them? Why do we have a cap in one and not in the other?
This is an agreement that Customs provides to us. It's a standard agreement that they do that, don't have the leverage to negotiate.
we don't have much say in what they put in
But
here.
they do put I said they build a 15% contingency into each of those line items, so they want to receive those numbers.
How many years are left in the operating agreement? So we capped the continuing costs of the items we just voted on, capped at $15,000 a year with no provision for CPI or any inflation costs.
No, we didn't cap any.
Up to $15,000 a year.
Oh, because that's part of the operating agreement.
Yeah, so it says up to $15,000 a year, any continuing costs in excess of 15,000 will be paid by OPA. And there's no provision for adjustment or for agreeing to a different rate.
So originally that number was 10. And we raised it to 15 to try to build in some cushion because we don't have any. We weren't even asked to comment on the Customs and Border Patrol agreement. It was just
Right.
given to us. So I think the reality, Commissioner Hill, would be by the time we likely reach 15,000 or more in annual maintenance, they're gonna want to replace the whole system again anyway,
Mhm.
would be my expectation. But you're correct in your assessment that we have capped the annual not to exceed 15, but there's no cap in the agreement with the government.
So is it possible to make a motion to amend this, even though we just voted on it?
Amend which,
To make a one change to the operating agreement with the, or to the letter agreement, that's what it is. Can I make a motion to amend that?
you can make the motion. to amend
Okay,
it.
so I would like to make a motion to amend that one statement, just to say before the period. Unless otherwise agreed between the parties, just to allow, so where it says any continuing costs in excess of $15,000 each year. Will be paid by OPA unless otherwise agreed between the parties, so at least we have the opportunity to go back and ask them for an increase. And then they don't have an obligation to give it, so it gives us the opportunity to discuss. Do you think they would receive that?
That's under the cost sharing agreement.
That was just a motion.
Motion's been made to amend the cost sharing agreement to repeat that again.
To say that, after each year will be paid by OPA. To say, unless otherwise agreed between the parties. which would allow the operator and OPA to come to an agreement if the costs were to increase. But it wouldn't obligate them to commit to increase.
Increase above what?
Because right now it's capped at 15,000 and it says that we have to pay the overage.
And so if it increases above 15,000.
I think we need a second.
Do I hear a second to that motion?
So we can
I
just-
second.
Motion made and seconded to amend the agreement.
Sorry,
Any discussion?
what was the question?
You do have 15,000 cap this motion. No,
Is, so that my thought is just when you say,
but it goes over 15,000.
when you say
we can-
you
So
will
you wanna
never pay
change that
more than
sentence?
this. Yeah, just to give us the opportunity
Yeah.
to dis-
And
Discuss
then
discuss
we
it.
call in excess of 15 each year will be renegotiated.
Paid by OPA unless otherwise agreed to by the parties.
Okay,
That's what I heard.
unless otherwise agreed to by the party. All right, any further discussion?
And I think it's the only concern I have is we're on the clock with CDG to get this approved.
Yeah, they need to know tonight almost.
Yeah, so I don't know if.
Right, gotta get Savage to sign off.
All right, so is there any way we can,
I can't, I mean, I get,
that's my concern is that if they don't sign off on it. Does that hold up the execution of?
It's not changing their obligation. It would just allow for the parties to agree otherwise. It still commits us to paying the overage unless it's agreed otherwise. So I don't think they would, I mean, it seems like a reasonable ask. It just gives,
I'll get it to Steve tonight and tell him we need to know one way or the other.
I just want to make sure that
Within
within
24
24
hours.
hours, executing.
Yeah. Amend it after this.
We've already approved this, so the motion is to
Amend
amend
the
the
language.
approved language of the letter agreement. So I can reach out to his name, Steve, at Savage immediately and
We definitely need to get this done by tomorrow.
I think. You didn't vote yet, did you?
no,
No.
just seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. All right, get it done. Now then we gotta go back to,
Right, you need to approve the customs agreement.
Yeah.
And the motion needs to say as amended so that we can change
Yeah.
the signature.
so I need a motion to approve the Customs Border Protection Memorandum of Agreement to reimburse CBP as amended.
I make the motion.
Motion been made,
I'll second.
seconded. Any discussion?
Then you're gonna change my name to the chairman. right?
Yes, okay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, what else you got there, Dave?
The final item is approval of agreement between us and the operator. Regarding the administrative fees that we added to the. The two fees that we added to the tariff, one for the support administration fee and one for the rebunkering fee. The operator has agreed on to monitor, bill, collect, and pay us on our behalf for those fees. So this is an agreement with that. It's actually an amendment to the operating agreement. To modify that. arrangement.
Need a motion?
I make a motion to move forward with amendment for the court administration fee.
No, for the operating agreement
The operating agreement for the collection of the court administration fee.
right here. Second,
I'll second.
motion been made and seconded to adopt the First Amendment to the operating agreement. Any discussion?
I'd like to discuss this one. So we have a tariff that is allowing for some increases to not only the OPA can collect, but also the operator can collect. So it's good for both parties.
Mhm.
we've also had some other identified weaknesses in the operating agreement. Such as the statutory language, that has to be included for public records being included verbatim. And I would just like to see that fixed, because we have already had those discussions with the operator and they agree. We've already had legal proceedings and I think it's on the verge of.
See, I don't want to interrupt you, but that has nothing to do with this amendment, does it,
But we're amending the operating agreement and
for this section?
we're amending the portions that allow us, we're opening up the agreement for amendment, which we haven't done since.
Right.
Right, and so I think in the public interest. Those revisions, I think, would not be controversial, but they would be in the public interest because public records are in the public interest.
Well, we can do that in a future amendment. I mean, we don't have to do it in this one. This is just for the tariff that he's collecting for us. And I want to tell you that this is a good thing, and I don't want to go into a discussion about why. Patrick knows why, and others know why.
Well, the public may not know why.
Well, that's okay right now because we're in active litigation on some
Right.
matters. So, and I think regarding the public records comments, which I've heard and we've talked about, we're still, that case has not been dismissed. So there are things that need to be finished before we start further amending or tinkering with the operating agreement. That's my recommendation. I've heard those comments and I've not forgot those comments, but in the middle of legal proceedings, we need to be careful what kind of changes we make. And we've also talked with the operator about a number of other things in the operating agreement that we would like to address when the time is right and when there's bandwidth and capacity to sit down and really think about those and what they mean for each side.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and we will get to that eventually. But right now, because of legal situations, this is the best course of action to take with the First Amendment of the operating agreement. And I think it sets a good precedent with us and the operator with his willingness to sit down and at least talk, and as previously we weren't able to do that with the other operators. So I think it's a good first step.
Yeah, so I just think that those revisions were never really contested, and so that's why I'm just questioning why they have not been included. Because I don't see why we would be, and I think that legally they apply to the parties regardless of whether they're included, but it would be a good faith to include it.
Yeah. Well,
So I will vote to support this, but I think that it should have that.
one step at a time. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Vic. All right, what else you got, Dave? That's it, sir. All right, goodness. All right, committee reports, moving quickly here. Port security, Commissioner Fullwood, I was told there were no issues in this last month. There was only one problem today. There was the ship that's in, they had one of the workers on the ship had chest pains and they called rescue to him, got him to the hospital. I don't know if you've had any reports since then.
I have.
No. So that's the only issue, and that's really not a security issue, but just wanted to let you know. All right, FDOT. Butch, myself, and David met with the new, what's his title?
He's the district.
District representative for FDOT. His name is Hunter Livingston. We met with him at the port yesterday. And he seems like a pretty interesting young man, and I think we're going to get along well with him. He was very enlightened by what we told him and his view of the port, and so I think that's going to be a good relationship going forward. Take some of the load off David. All right, Customs House, Commissioner Franklin, you got anything?
Don't have anything.
All right, next thing is Army Corps of Engineers. I talked to Bo Corbett today. And we talked about several things, but the thing I can talk to you about tonight is the maintenance dredging draft design for the harbor out there is complete. The federal solicitation of the project will be awarded on December 20th. The dredging will begin in late February and no later than May 15th. That's the range. The federal government is incurring 100% of the cost. Currently working with EPA on depositing dredging material in the ocean. So that's between them and EPA. The Corps of Engineers is currently doing an exam survey of the channel this month and will submit the results to us soon after. So that's all the news. Economic Development, Commissioner Cole.
We did not have a meeting, or we canceled our meeting because of the storm,
Yeah.
and they had another meeting and nobody attended, so nothing really happened. Nothing to report.
TCC, Commissioner Hannah.
I did not attend the meeting. Dave went to.
Yeah, I checked the agenda, there wasn't anything on there.
My son had surgery, so.
TPO,
Nothing to report. Well, I did report last month because we had our TPO meeting before our meeting. And this month is tomorrow, so nothing to report until tomorrow.
Chamber of Commerce, Commissioner Hill.
So the public officials appreciation reception is October
Monday
17th.
night.
I'm going,
Yeah, me too.
okay? And
Be
Rosanna.
careful what you talk about.
Rosanna's filing and then
We'll talk to each other.
we won't be talking about court business.
Oh.
There is an opportunity to register or to decorate a table for the awards dinner on Thursday, February 2nd. So every member can decorate a table. It's free. Attendance is not free. So
No,
I
it
didn't know if
isn't.
We wanted to do that.
What's the cost of attendance?
$100.
Yeah.
Or $800 for a table.
Yeah.
So if someone is planning on attending, any member.
I won't be there.
Are you going?
No.
Are you going?
You're going?
Yeah.
Be that way. Spend your money.
And then there is.
Not up for election. Why you interested?
So I don't know if we wanted to decorate a table, but we could, I don't even know if we need consensus to do that. Because it's free, it's not an expenditure, I'm happy to help. And then they have their annual business awards, again, this is for chamber members, so that.
Yeah.
I don't, like with the, elected officials interviews before the election, a lot of the members of the public were kind of mad because they couldn't see the interviews and paper didn't really have a lot of participation.
Yeah.
But I think with the business awards, I think that's actually published on their website. So it would be cool to nominate, a local business. If we wanted to do that, to consider whether we want to do an official nomination or we could do it individually. I'm not sure how the membership works, but I could look at that to see if we wanted to participate in that or nominate a local business.
Well, there's many categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can each of the commissioners nominate a local business?
So it's by membership, but I think it's
Have to come from us,
Mhm,
if we're the member of the chamber.
mhm.
Okay, so it'd have to go, we'd have to recommend it to the board and it goes to them.
You as our representative, you can figure that out.
When does that have to be done?
November 18th.
Okay. Got time.
So I can bring the nomination to the next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
See you, friend.
So I did have lunch with Tammy Bach again this past week. Did not have the opportunity to meet with Dale Martin. He had another engagement. And I did attend, I don't know if it's the city of Permian Beach or Chamber, but I did attend the Island Hop. I don't know if I didn't see any on there,
No.
but it supports, the Fernandina Main Street. That's, I think, their largest fundraiser of the year, and it was really well attended. I think they had twice as many people as last year, which was pretty good considering it's right after the hurricane. But nothing in particular to report from this.
They will have a forum for candidates Friday, I believe,
Who?
city,
Oh, I
the
have.
city's up to it, and it's gonna be online. And then it will be delayed online later on, but. it's
At
online.
the city commission chambers?
City commission thing, yeah.
Thank you.
So if you're interested, if you're in the city, well, none of y'all live in the city, but us too, so,
Mhm.
okay. I'll-
Skip the email on emergency management.
I did. Well. I thought you said we didn't have a meeting.
No, that was the economic development. Board.
Okay, where's the man?
Okay, that's in the name, we did have a meeting. The EOC was activated on. Track of the days. First day was relatively quiet. The next day we went into full operation mode. We had representatives from all over, including the National Guard. And I kind of worked as a liaison between them and the EOC. But it was great to be able to report what was going on at our port and the activities, and Ray, you're very helpful with Brooke, giving me the information that I could put out to them, and they were very appreciative of it. So we're able to move on with it. The last day, the EOC, I went over to the port as well, took pictures, and my picture coincided with yours. You can see where the debris line for the water came up, but did not get into anything. So absolutely no damage. And so, but I had full reports on what came back with the Coast Guard's inspection and ready to open the port back in business again. So all of that was helpful to the EOC for them to make their reports to the state.
I had one inquiry from the public about what we were doing to secure the port. And I sent all that information to that person. And they were very appreciative and said, you know, that's the first time they've been happy with what happened at the port in a storm. So I think that's good.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely.
So I love the fact that you messaged us and gave us an update, because that was very quick. And I appreciate that you were available like all the time, communicating and letting us know, you know, how the port fared. So thank you for that. I know you guys pulled some long hours during that time, and thank you, Commissioner Cole, Vice Chairman Cole, for serving up, sleeping on a cot.
I didn't have to do that. I
No.
had a 12-hour shift.
You went home.
Thank you.
So,
When I was at JEA, I did the storm response, and it's tough. It's not a hurricane burden. It's really hard.
not fun when you have to stay there and eat bad food. Lisa had some decent catered in food. You know, what is it?
Yeah. Okay. Good. Office managers report.
My report is in the meeting packet. I do need board directions for expense report, for Commissioner Hill when she went to Tallahassee. I have to get board directions because she did not, mention it beforehand, before she took the trip. So her expense report is about $175.
What did you go to Tallahassee for?
So this is for the ethics commission hearing, which was not on, it's not a public proceeding until it's determined. And it was determined that there's no public, so just going to be dismissed. But that's the only reason why I didn't get advance approval for the public business. But I did get the government rate, so that's why this will.
No problem with it. I personally don't. So, you know, I know we've exceeded our budget amount, correct, for the year.
For travel?
We have it. Okay.
Oh,
this will bring
Separate.
Yeah, we're gonna do your.
How much is the total line? It's not.
It's about 175, and we have $1,000 for travel.
And that was for your ethics here, or ethics complaint.
Which was discussed. Yes.
All right. Do we need a motion for
I think if you have consensus of the
it?
board,
We have consensus, pay that board.
Absolutely.
as long as here it's.
All right, very good. Well, it's in the budget to, for the expenses, travel. All right, what else?
And with that, Commissioner Hill filed a claim with FMIT and they approved her claim. And so we received the reimbursement for about $20,000. And so I just need, well, I'm going to inform the board that I will write a check to reimburse her for legal. Sorry.
Boy, FMIT is gonna be proud of us.
You've been paying your premium.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
So I just need your
It's our money.
signature.
Yep, absolutely.
Signature. And then, also too, I have lots. We're back at the BOCC December, for the December 7th and 21st
Maybe.
meeting.
Maybe.
And they want an interlocal, so I don't know if you want that in place or where are we gonna be in December?
I'm, with the board's permission, I'm gonna talk to the county and get that straightened out, whether we'll be ever be able to use the facility again. If not, with the board's permission, I'd like to sit down with the city and get all the details for us, maybe using their facility or go to the Realtors building on 14th Street to see what they're offering, or if they would offer something. And I'll report back to you next meeting.
I'd be happy to talk to Dale if you'd like me to.
Well, I just want to get all the fine details. We could use a recording and, put it out to the public. And so I'll do that. I'll talk to Tammy too. So
I take my duties as
I know.
Burning the Beach
I know.
liaison seriously.
I know you do. Well, if you'd like to do that, I don't have a problem with it. Just make sure you get all the fine details.
Okay,
All right, I'll let you do that one and I'll reach out to the others.
I will include Rosanna because she has to live the details.
Yeah, because she has to know how to use the equipment and we need to. Okay.
For the record, your attorney who lives in Jacksonville has no problem with this location.
I have a big problem with this location. I just don't, it's just not uncomfortable to me. All right,
So another board direction that I need for, to proceed with paying down the legal invoices. Do y'all want to hear how much?
no, I think we've taken care of that, haven't we? Working on it. And
I'll do numbers.
I've talked to Pierre and we've talked to Patrick and we're working on that.
Okay. So
We'll
you'll,
let you know what to do. All right.
thank you.
Is she
And-
consensus?
Huh?
Does she need consensus?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, so for Florida Ports Council, I received the invoice for membership dues, 15,500. I'll go ahead and pay that.
It's in the budget.
The Fort Clinch tugboat. We spoke with Mr. Gilbert about paying that for the certificate of documentation. And he confirmed that he will pay it.
Okay. I don't have
FYI.
any argument with that.
Also too, I received an invoice from Corporate Creations. That's about the special agent. We pay $79 and I forwarded the email or the invoice to the board.
Special agent for.
Well, I asked him what he did for us. And yeah, to receive the documents on behalf of OPA, and then he will forward. We paid $79 last year. We did not hear from him at all.
I got you. I know what you're talking about. Okay.
So,
Did we already agree with that?
I don't know where it is in the process, but I mean, certainly the court attorney, whether it's me or someone else, can serve as your agent, receive service and register as such, and we certainly wouldn't. I mean, when the property appraiser filed suit, it didn't come through Corporate Creations, it came through me. We waived service, we did the normal process, so.
right,
My recommendation would be whoever you use as port attorney, you assign that duty to them.
Okay.
And so I would recommend that it's only $80. I would recommend that you cancel this and we'll handle anything going forward.
okay, I will need, he told me I will need to contact the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, because they require, I forwarded to,
You just have to register.
So if you can send that to me, Rosanna.
oh, okay,
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
okay.
All right.
Perfect.
That's done. Anything else?
Last one,
Yep.
just last minute today, I received an inquiry about bug out for the customs house. So I would like to ask Commissioner Franklin, because we pay two different pest control.
Inside and outside.
River Pest Control is inside and the bug out is outside.
Correct.
So they're proposing a different kind of treatment for the subterranean termites.
Well, they've already treated. Do they have to treat every year?
It says the old liquid treatment was done 5 years ago and
Yeah.
it dissipates, so it needs to
Well,
be
of
done
course.
again.
Of
But I
course it
want
does.
to discuss that since it's for the customs house, that it should be turned over to the port operator. And you could certainly
Decide to do it or not?
bid for other.
Yeah.
um,
What's the new charge? And what's the difference?
I forwarded the invoice to the board.
It's about the same as it has been, two something and $2.99, about $500.
Right, the initial cost. It says normal install fee for the new customers would be $5.99, but because you have been with us for so long, they're going to charge $1.99. And then there's a $29 a month for maintenance thereafter. I will forward the information to Mr. Gilbert and he can. And I apologize to give you invoices one at a time.
Okay. You can decide what he wants to do with it. Is he like termites eat it or what? Might be a good thing. They wouldn't, I don't know if they'd even eat that wood. So. All
And
right,
that's it.
anything else? All right, is there anything else to come before the commission? Hearing none.